Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
Today we've got Dungeons, Dragons, and Double Crosses.
Jump down the description below where we can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter. Get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
Alright, so sometimes things happen during a D&D combat. The bad guys become good guys, the good guys become bad guys, and there's a lot of different reasons why this might happen during your game. It could be role-playing and social interactions that cause it to happen. There could be plot points that just, people aren't aware of, maybe even the DM at the time. And then there is, a world of magic that can force people to do things that they wouldn't normally do or wouldn't want to do.
Right. So, this is, loosely inspired by, an email that we received, as well as, some of the stuff that I've seen on other people who are, playing and streaming.
So I guess like one of the things would be like why would a player switch side? Why would they flip? So there's a couple things, right? You have things like the ghost has the ability to possess. You have suggestion, charm person, charm monster, dominate. So there's all of those that can just make it happen in the middle of a combat. Someone makes a bad roll, and then now they're on the other side.
Right. And ultimately this works in both directions, because once you get to the high level magics, you've got the ability to, turn the tides on your enemies and be like, oh, screw it, I'm going to dominate you instead of you dominating me.
Then there's always the party plant, right? Which could happen in several ways. It could be an NPC that has been friends with the party for a long time, but they've had their own agenda.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, one of the players has been switched out with a doppelganger. And no one's known, including the player. Like a clever DM might let them play their thing however they want to up until it's time for the doppelganger to act. And, and the DM might be like, he may deactivate the player as you will, and then the doppelganger takes over doing his own thing.
Right. Or, like if you've got a veteran player who can handle it well, you can just be like, all right, either like at the beginning of the session or in between sessions, you send a message or whisper in their ear, however it is that you're going to handle it at your table. You're like, look, we're going to get to this moment and this is going to happen. And some players are like, oh, I'm totally down for that, and they'll play along. So it can be a lot of fun if you've got someone who's going to do it right.
Yeah, we were playing in the Marvel superheroes game run by Professor Bill from Comic Book University, and we were fighting a Tuma. We stopped him, and I picked up his sword. Well, it turns out his sword then possessed me and made me go crazy. So the GM, the judge in this case, Bill was like, okay, you have to attack the party. So I said, okay, Nightbright, Doug's character, is physically the weakest and probably my best chance of taking out in one shot. So I went after him. I rolled terribly, and missed, but I did try to impale his character. Unfortunately, I did fail.
Well, I had a similar situation in your Open Legend game. We got to the finale, and spoilers here for some reason going to watch that at some point in time and haven't yet. My character Bunny, he's a tinkerer, a techno mage, whatever you want to call him. But he shoots a little fire gun, no big deal. But he's the brains of the operation. Well, the bad guy that we're fighting totally dominates me. I fail my check, and it's like, all right, you're now an agent of the bad guy. Well, Ted is normally the, easygoing. I don't want to do the bad guy route. Can I just make heroes and be heroes? But, here was an opportunity. I'm like, I've never properly played the I'm going to turn on somebody. So you know what? Screw it. I'm going to look, and as opposed to saying, oh, let's attack Ty's character, the paladin-esque kind of character, I'm going to turn and attack the mage. She's right in front of me. She's the squishiest. And the dice rewarded that choice because I rolled exceptionally well and, took her the flip out. And it was a crazy encounter. all of the good guys win, craziness ensued, and what have you. Everybody went their own separate way after, the fallout and, Megan's character saying, all right, don't ever do this again.
Bad Bunny.
But it was great. You get to do these moments, and you know if the story is planned well, and if you're confident that your allies are gonna win the day, like really play it up. Do the thing that your character would do when you have to change sides.
I would argue, even if you're not confident they're going to win the day, like this is a role playing game. You should role play whatever's going on, and sometimes it is to the detriment of the party. It's still a game, right? Whatever, it's a game, and sometimes bad things happen in the game, and you're telling a story. Sometimes the story goes wrong, so you know you really shouldn't meta game at all, right? And in this case, you're taking the character's knowledge, and if he is totally flipped for whatever reason, he should use that knowledge to the best effect that he possibly can for that given time. Anything less would be metagaming, and it is not metagaming in a fun or a good way, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I looked at the situation, as Bunny, and I'm like, she's the best target. I'm gonna take her out. In other times when it's happened, it's like it's been years ago, because this kind of stuff has not come up a lot to me. But it's like, oh, half-hearted attempts. Oh, I'll make this attack, and oh, look at that, I missed. And like here, I'm like, no, I'm doing it right. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
And and well, here's the thing too: when you do that and it works the way it's intended to, and you want it to, you create this memorable story at the table that you're going to then share and tell with people. Whereas when those half-hearted attempts, like, do you even remember any of them? Like,
No.
the
Like,
combats or what happened?
they're all like non-specific. Whereas, the story with Bunny, no, I mean that's something that I'll remember because I did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah, you're standing there, all of a sudden you turn to Dr. Lucy and totally set her on fire. So it creates these fun, interesting moments at the table. So you also had something else that kind of like inspired this topic that you wanted to bring up.
Well, I did see that in the original campaign of Critical Role, there was the party encountered a mind flayer by the name of Clarota, and spoilers for those that aren't up to date from 2 years ago. This they met a mind flayer. It totally just said, hey, this is what you're doing. I'm kind of against that too. I'm going to hang out with you. And there is, multiple sessions, weeks and weeks and weeks worth of this crew traveling together. NPC, not getting along with NPC. So, like, Matt is basically arguing with himself between this halfling and this mind flayer. Great stuff, great interaction. And when they do exactly what the mind flayer wanted to make happen, what the party wanted to make happen, it's like, all right, my goals have been met. You are now useless to me. Time to turn on you. And
Mind blast.
now it's all mind blasts. And hey, we happen to be in the center of a mind flayer city. Let's get some more mind flayers. And
So what you're saying is they went from ponies, rainbows, and sunshines to tentacles and mind blasts and devouring of your brain. But personally, I think if you get betrayed by a mind flayer, you probably deserved it for trusting a mind flayer in the first place.
I have to agree with you.
Your brain is tasty and delicious, and they live for one thing, and that is to eat it.
I wondered where Matt was going to go, and we've seen stories both in novels and in our own personal games where you've got things that are monsters that go against their nature and can be good guys, Grix, beholders, mimics, what have you, crazy things
Maybe
that shouldn't be. But I'm like, where is he going to go with this mind flayer? And he does it right. I totally love the way everything panned out, and I'm like, yeah, that's good stuff.
So now we should flip the script and go to the other side of the screen. But whenever this kind of stuff happens and takes place in your game, it's like a bomb going off in the center of all the action. And we know a fella who is quite fond of bombs.
The goblin who likes bombs?
That is our Goblin Bomber over at the Nerdarchy store, which you can check out. There's images floating around, many different colors and styles. You can have your own Nerdarchy Goblin Bomber to wear around and show off to all your friends at your gaming table.
Go check it out.
Link is in the description. So what are some reasons why they're enemies? Well, we talked about the charm, the dominate, all those, of course, obviously happen at our table numerous times. But there was also a Unearthed Arcana where it kind of like fleshed out the bad guys and the enemies, and like one of the things it says, well, mistreated by allies, right? Well, that's a person that might actually flip fairly easy,
right? Especially if he's like the last one left. I've found the love of D&D an ever changing thing. When I first started into this hobby, the combat was what drew me in and kept me in for a long period of time. I made a lot of melee type characters, and as the hobby has grown and changed and our table got more experienced, I realized the role playing and the exploration were far more important. And as I run, those are the things that I tend to highlight. Those are the things that I want to have happen, as I put out their material. So when it gets to combat and we're down to one guy versus 5 to 7 PCs, I'm like, yeah, I'm really not interested in rolling this out. This is going to be you guys beating on it for seven things, and then it gets to attempt to do something. There's no way this guy's got a chance. I hand wave it. I say, okay, who takes it out? I come up with different things, to try and make it fun and interesting without having to slog through 5 more minutes of, this thing's hit points.
Yeah, so, that being said, like, if you have 2 opponents left or 3 opponents left, and, whatever, they're hobgoblins and an ogre, or goblins and an ogre, and, one of the players just turns to the ogre and be like, whatever they're paying, I'll pay you double right now, give us a hand. And they might be like, oh, okay, and then he squishes one of the goblins. Easy money.
Right.
Yeah, and especially if he's already been injured and things are going bad, there could be a lot of reasons why they might just flip onto the other side.
So, these moments are really going to, number one, give you some awesome stories when it's like, oh, I've taken not only an enemy out of the picture, but then turned it into an ally as well. That gets to be fun. Those are things that you're going to talk about and you're going to share around. As Dave says, that you have things where, hey, this guy wasn't treated well. You could have persuasion rolls. You could have perception checks or insight checks as to try to see what's going on. If you're an astute player and you pick up on some of these things, you could make a couple skill checks and be like, all right, I'm going to turn this around, or I'm going to make this happen. You could get down to that last bad guy and be like, look, you're going to surrender, or, you now work for us, depending upon what kind of caliber of hero or, player you are. And, the story will bend and twist into great and interesting ways.
Yeah, you might do things like, the goblin boss is pushing and kicking and shoving his underlings at the party, where clearly they're not being treated well. They're witnessing it, and they might decide to do something with that information.
Right.
And, like you said, then persuasion or intimidate checks might come into play. There is the concept that evil generally always will turn on itself as well. So there's definitely different ways where you can kind of make things like this happen. And then, then there's just monsters don't want to die. So if they've hitched their wagon to the losing side, well, maybe it's time to unhitch and try and hitch it to the other side because they just want to get out with their skin. Or there's also the concept of maybe they just have another ulterior motive and they see the players as a way to get to their goals and objectives. That is greater or better than their chances with their current allies. So, maybe, they're going to try a gambit or a ploy in order to win over the players and then be able to maybe use them later on for their own schemes.
So lots of different ways to kind of spice up your combat by getting into these. I'm not going to say that most combats are going to have this type of turncoat ability. It might not even be half. But every so often,
Far less than half. Like, you shouldn't be trying to do this all the time because it'll lose its impact and it won't be as cool if you're doing it all the time.
but every so often these little shining stars are gonna come up, and you're gonna be like, I wanna step in on this. I wanna take part in this action, and really enact this awesome change.
With that, guys, what kind of betrayals and turncoat moments have you had in your combats and your games? We'd love to hear about them. I'm sure the other fans would as well. We got a place for it down in the description below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can hang out with us over on Facebook.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.